This is the story of how a $50,000 dividend portfolio became my first real step toward financial freedom. But it's probably not the story you're imagining. This isn't about hitting a magic number that let me quit my job. It's not about a lucky stock pick that made me a millionaire overnight. In fact, the dollar amount wasn't even the most important part. The real takeaway was the mental shift. The transformation from feeling completely trapped by my finances to feeling empowered by them. For years, I was running on a treadmill, trading time for money and getting absolutely nowhere. Financial freedom felt like a distant myth. This $50,000 portfolio changed everything, not because of the income, but because it proved to me that the system could work. It was my own personal proof of concept. So, I'm not just going to show you what I did. I want to share the mindset shifts and a long-term perspective that mattered far more than any single stock. I'll show you how you can apply the same principles to your own journey, starting today. Because financial freedom isn't just a number, it's a state of mind. 1. My starting point, financial anxiety and a negative net worth. Before I ever bought a single share, I was in a place I think many people know all too well. I was financially stuck. On the surface, everything looked fine. I had a steady job and I paid my bills on time. But underneath, I was dealing with a quiet, constant anxiety about money. My net worth was negative, thanks to student loans and some questionable credit card choices in my younger days. I was living paycheck to paycheck, not because I had to, but because I had no plan. Money came in, money went out, and there was little to show for it. The idea of investing was terrifying. The stock market seemed like a casino for rich people, a place where you could lose everything in an instant. All I ever saw were headlines about hot stocks and crypto, stories of people getting rich overnight or losing it all. It felt like a game I was destined to lose. This created a low-grade stress that hung over my life. I worried about any unexpected expense. Knowing a car repair or a medical bill could throw my entire budget into chaos. It wasn't just a lack of money, it was a lack of control. I felt like a passenger in my own financial life, just hoping for the best. My dream wasn't to be extravagantly wealthy. It was simply to stop worrying. I wanted to feel like I was building something, not just treading water. That feeling of being behind was the real problem I had to solve. 2. The turning point, discovering a different path. My turning point wasn't some dramatic event, but more of a slow burn. I was just tired of feeling anxious. I started consuming as much financial content as I could, searching for a strategy that actually made sense. I wasn't looking for a get-rich-quick scheme. I wanted a get-rich slowly but surely plan. That's when I found dividend investing. At first, the idea seemed almost too simple. You buy a piece of a solid, established company, and they send you a share of their profits, called a dividend. It wasn't about timing the market or finding the next explosive stock. It was about owning real businesses that sell products and services. This was a fundamental mindset shift. Investing was no longer about betting on ticker symbols. It was about becoming a part owner in companies I understood. Suddenly, the market felt less like a casino and more like a partnership. The concept that really hooked me was reinvesting those dividends. The thought that my small investments could generate their own income, which could then buy more income-generating assets, felt like magic. It was the first time I truly understood what making your money work for you meant. It was a clear, repeatable process that didn't rely on luck. It relied on time and consistency. For someone who felt they had no control, this was revolutionary. The path seemed boring, predictable, and slow, and that's exactly why I loved it. 3. My strategy, building the first $50,000 portfolio. With this new mindset, I set my first big goal, build a $50,000 dividend portfolio. The number felt significant but reachable. It wasn't about the income, not yet. It was about proving to myself that I could stick to a plan. My strategy was built on 2 things: consistency and quality. First, consistency. I started seeing my budget as a tool to free up cash, not as a restriction. I automated my savings, setting up transfers to my brokerage account on every payday. I started small, but as I cut back on things I didn't need, that amount grew. Making it non-negotiable, like a bill, was the engine for the whole plan. Second, quality. I knew I wasn't an expert stock picker, so I focused on broad, low-cost exchange-traded funds. My core holdings were in funds that tracked the S&P 500 and others designed for dividend growth, like the Schwab U.S. Dividend Equity or the Vanguard High Dividend Yield. These gave me instant diversification across hundreds of quality American companies. My philosophy was simple. I wanted to own companies with a long history of paying and, more importantly, increasing their dividends. A growing dividend is often a sign of a healthy company and provides a built-in defense against inflation. I wasn't just investing for today's income. I was building for tomorrow's. And the most critical part, I reinvested every dividend. At first, the payments were tiny, a few dollars here and there. It was almost laughable. But then, those dollars would buy another fraction of a share, and the next payment would be slightly larger. It was like a tiny snowball rolling downhill. Seeing that process in action, month after month, was the most motivating part. It was tangible proof my plan was working. For mistakes I made and what they taught me. The path to $50,000 wasn't perfect. I made mistakes, and they taught me some valuable lessons. My first mistake was chasing high yields. Early on, I was drawn to stocks with huge dividend yields, 8%, 10%, or more. I thought I found a shortcut. I put some money into a company with a massive yield, only to watch the stock price plummet before the company eventually cut its dividend. It was a painful lesson. An unusually high yield is often a red flag, signaling a risky business, not a golden opportunity. I learned that dividend sustainability and growth are far more important than a high starting yield. My second mistake was almost giving in to fear. About a year in, the market took a sharp downturn. The old anxieties came rushing back, and my gut screamed at me to sell and cut my losses. But my strategy, my belief in owning quality businesses for the long haul, gave me something to hold on to. I reminded myself that these businesses were now on sale. Instead of panic selling, I kept investing my regular amount. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done financially, but it paid off. When the market recovered, those shares I bought at a discount became some of my best performers. That experience taught me the importance of emotional resilience. The best investors are often the ones who keep a cool head when everyone else is losing theirs. 5. The freedom in financial freedom. So, what happened when I finally hit the $50,000 mark? Did I feel rich? Not at all. A $50,000 portfolio with a solid 4% yield generates about $2,000 a year, or roughly $167 a month. That's not enough to live on. To generate $50,000 in annual dividends, you would likely need a portfolio of over $1 million. But the number on the screen wasn't the real prize. The financial freedom I found wasn't freedom from work. It was freedom from financial anxiety. For the first time in my adult life, I had a system working for me that was completely separate from my job. That $167 a month wasn't just money. It was proof. It was the validation of discipline and belief in a plan. It represented a future where my income wasn't tied only to the hours I worked. That is the real freedom. It's knowing my small money machine will keep working, even when I'm not. It's the peace of mind that comes from building a buffer between you and whatever life decides to throw your way. That $50,000 wasn't the end goal. It was the launch pad. It gave me the confidence to aim for $100,000, then $250,000 and beyond. It shifted my entire perspective from one of fear to one of possibility. My journey from a negative net worth to a $50,000 portfolio taught me that financial freedom starts with your mindset, long before it shows up in your bank account. It's about choosing a strategy you can believe in, embracing consistency, and playing the long game. If you feel stuck where I was, please know that this path is open to you. It doesn't take a genius. It just takes discipline. If this story resonated with you, I hope you'll like and subscribe for more real-world investing strategies. And I'd love to know, what does financial freedom truly mean to you? Let me know in the comments below. Remember, the goal isn't just to stack up money. It's to build a life with more peace of mind. You don't need millions to start. You just need a plan and the patience to see it through. Thanks for watching.